Recording. Sorry, I forgot to do that. All right, you're all good now.
Okay. So let me. There we go. I think everybody see that okay? Great, thank you. So I abhor these presentations, so I will try to make this as painless as possible and get to the good stuff. Basically, just want to talk about who we are and the Clean Water Plan and the different projects that are going to be part of that. Shameless plug here real fast. If you guys are bored, don't have anything better to do, we have a cool little tool on the website called Follow the Flush. It actually allows you to put your address in from work, from home, wherever. It will tell you how far your flush will travel and how long it takes to get to ALCOSAN for treatment. What this illustrates, and this will make a little more sense later, is how fractured of a system, sewer system that we do have here in Pittsburgh. Quickly, the agenda, who we are, why we're important, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the Clean Water Plan and the 4 components that make that up. For those of you who don't know, we're the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority. We are the regional wastewater treatment provider to 83 communities in Allegheny County, and that does include the city of Pittsburgh. The picture you're looking at is our plant over on the north side, 59 acres. We are bounded by the river on one side, the railroad, and a big hill on the other. So as we have started our plant expansion projects, that has become a problem, a challenge, and some very good engineering to overcome. This map quickly just shows our service area within Allegheny County, that's black line. The red lines that you see here, guys, are actually what ALCOSAN owns and maintains. That's 90 miles of interceptor pipe. All of those other lines that you see out there are sewer lines that are owned by other municipalities, water authorities. There's some 4,000 miles of pipe out there that ALCOSAN does not have anything to do with. This is a little better illustration. This is how a lot of these systems were built many years ago. You could not build this system today, it would be illegal. But everything you see over here on your left, or on the right, I'm sorry, in the yellow is now what's responsible for the homeowner to service, to make sure is in working order. That's going to feed into whatever municipality or municipal authority, that's the orange. Those are the pipes that are in the street, that run down your street, that everybody tees into. Everything over here is on the blue side is what ALCOSAN actually owns and maintains. As I said, it's a very unique system. You don't see a lot of these systems that are so fractured in ownership very often. So here's the problem. Many of you know this, overflows. I'm sure many of you have been riding along the trails and seen these overflows active. Right now, during wet weather, we're overflowing somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 billion gallons into the waterways a year. That's a lot of water. So the federal government says you can't do that anymore, which through a lot of negotiations, a lot of work, we came up with the Clean Water Plan. It was approved in 2020. It's a $2 billion investment. At the end of these projects that are in the Clean Water Plan now, which is 2036 is when we have to be done, we will have reduced that 9 billion gallons of overflow to 2 billion gallons of overflow a year. After this first set of measures that we'll talk about, ALCOSAN will then have to have a plan to pick up and solve the other 2 billion gallons of overflow that happen every year. So the Clean Water Plan's 4 pieces. I'm not going to take a lot of time on the first 3, but I'll give you a brief overview of what they are. Plan expansion, obviously, common sense right now there is a lot of construction at our plant. It's actually pretty exciting to see the big cranes and all the earth moving equipment and everything going on. Basically, the idea behind plant expansion, as we have to be able to move more stormwater to the plant, we also have to be able to treat that stormwater. Second piece of that is regionalization. That is the voluntary takeover, if you will, of multi-municipal sewers by ALCOSAN. So if it's 10 inches and more in diameter, say Ross Township and Etna feed into a sewer pipe, ALCOSAN is working with those municipalities to take ownership and maintenance of those. Gives us a little more control over the system. If you remember, we talked a little earlier about how fractured the system is. Grow and source control is the third component. Many of you have probably heard about this. This is our grant program. 136 projects since we started in 2016. Multi-million-dollar grant program to help the municipalities take the water out of the system before it ever gets to ALCOSAN. Finally, the big one is going to be the regional tunnel system. That's probably one of the largest projects that ALCOSAN has undertaken since the original ALCOSAN pipes were put in the late 50s. This infrastructure that we have now is not that old. Before 1959, many people don't know this, there was no real treatment of sewage. Everything went straight to the river before 1959. So again, wastewater treatment plant expansion, you'll see here the big crane towers over the McKees Rocks Bridge, towers over pretty much everything. So it's a nice beacon for us. The picture on the right is our north end. What's interesting about this is, again, you see the plant kind of one side, obviously the river, the other side, 5 tracks of railroad. Our engineers designed and built this river wall that you see in kind of in the middle of the picture there to create more space for us to be able to build the pieces that we need. Basically, again, wastewater treatment plant expansion is going to get us the ability to treat more water when we have these wet weather events. We'll be up to 600 million gallons a day for primary treatment. That's mainly stormwater. Then we'll have 295 million gallons a day capacity to do the full treatment. Right now, the plant can do up to 250 million gallons a day. Excuse me. Regionalization again, we talked about what it was. If all of the municipalities transfer those assets to us, we'll end up with 265 additional miles of sewer line that we'd be responsible for. 8 pump stations along the way. Pittsburgh, generally Allegheny County is lucky. We don't have a lot of pump stations because of our geography. It helps everything flow downhill towards ALCOSAN. Grow source control, again, excess of $60 million in grants that have gone out. 51 of those projects since we started in 2016 are now complete. And we're starting to get some good data from those projects to see how they're actually performing and are they taking the water out of the system that they were originally modeled to be. The projects, green infrastructure, everybody's familiar with what that is. Inflow and infiltration, this is where water is getting into the sewer lines because of breaks, cracks, certain things of that nature. Most of those projects are sewer lining projects that seal up all of those problems. The stream removal, that was big for us. There was a time when the thought process was to run a stream into the sewer, but that's actually water that doesn't need to be treated. So by removing that water out of the system, we've really taken a great volume out of there. Lastly, sewer separation. You don't see a lot of that, but basically what that is, if you have a combined system like you do in Pittsburgh, a combined system is where sewage and stormwater are all in the same pipe. You actually separate a portion of that system where you would have separate pipes for sanitary sewer and for stormwater. And now the big one. This is our proposed regional tunnel system as it stands right now. Let me caution everyone before we get too far down here and everybody starts freaking out about all of these lines being right at the river and near the trails. Couple of things to remember. We're going to build these in 3 segments. So the Ohio River Tunnel segment will be first. That's shown in green. The Allegheny River Tunnel will be second. That's shown in blue. And then the Monongahela River Tunnel, shown in, I believe that's orange. Then there'll be two smaller tunnels, micro tunnels that will pick up Sawmill Run and Chartiers Creek. And both of those are shown in Hughes Rocks and then down around the West End Bridge. Now, a lot of people ask, well, why are you citing these things where they are? We have to make sure that to pick up the most active overflows, to improve that water quality, we have to be near our existing infrastructure. Our existing infrastructure runs along the rivers. That's why you see what you see right now. This is what it looks like if you did a cross section. The outfall, the existing regulator, and then our deep interceptor tunnels. That's the 90 miles that we currently own. Those are at about 100 feet deep or so, 50 to 100 feet deep. So what happens, guys, is in this combined sewer system that we all have living in the city, when these pipes, when this deep interceptor cannot handle the flow, it backs up and this regulator pushes it into the river. That's where we get those outfalls and those overflows that you all have seen along the trails. When the new system is built, another regulator, some different consolidation sewers, but basically what will happen is when this system, the old system, gets overcharged, it will flow into this drop shaft, drop down into the new tunnels, which are about 150 feet deep, or will be about 150 feet deep, and then move that to the plant. The reason that they're 150 feet deep is nothing more than gravity. They have to be lower than our existing infrastructure. All of this is in bedrock. The tunnel construction will largely go unnoticed. 14 to 18 feet in diameter, depending on where we are. It'll be done mostly by a tunnel boring machine, much like they did for the North Shore Connector. And then the machine behind it will put up the concrete segments, actually constructing the tunnel as we're going along. The things that you will probably notice more, these are the surface facilities, the regulators that we talked about, which help to divert the flow to the right place. The consolidation sewers, those are basically just sewers that move the flow from one pipe to another. And then lastly, the drop shafts. These drop shafts can be one of two things. They can be launch or retrieval sites for the tunnel boring machine, or they can be actual drop shafts that will pick up a lot of the flow from some of those active overflows that we talked about earlier. The picture down at the bottom, if you see, that's what a restored site could look like. What that allows ALCOSAN to do is have access for maintenance if there's any problems along the way. But we're working with whatever community that happens to be in and help, beautify what that is after we're done. This is the schedule. Right now, we are approaching 30% design for the Ohio River Tunnel segment. Construction will begin in 2025. That seems a little ways off, but it's actually not. All of this, all 3 legs of the tunnels and the wet weather pump that we're going to build inside the plant have to be done by 2036. That is part of the consent decree. Obviously, as we continue after, construction goes on for the Ohio River Tunnel segment, we'll start the design process for the Allegheny River Tunnel segment. But along the line, and it's even happening along the lines with the Ohio River Tunnel segment, we're taking these projects, we're looking at the flow reduction that some of the municipalities are doing, and that will continually allow us to adapt what we build, why we build it, and where we build it. Again, please stay engaged with us. We want to do the same with you guys. We just redid all of our clean water plan pages on our website. So please take a look at that. There's more information than you could possibly want in there, and even technical drawings and everything else. We have the newsletter. We have once a quarter, excuse me. It's a once a quarter e-newsletter that you can sign up for. We do use social media quite a bit, and we'll use that more and more and more, obviously, as we get into the construction phase of the regional tunnel system. So with all of that that I threw at you, thank you. And again, we want to make sure that this is the beginning of a conversation with you guys, with River Life, with all of our partners that deal with where we're going to be. We're going to keep disruption to a minimum as best we can. We're going to make sure that we're communicating, letting you guys know, hey, we're going to be out here near the trail. This is going to be closed. This is the detour, setting all of that in motion as we speak, actually. So I will be quiet. Again, I thank you very much. Hope I didn't bore you to death talking about tunnels that move poopy water around, but I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Hey, thanks, Joey. That was I thought it was pretty fascinating personally, and I don't know. I just can't believe humans can do that, like dig tunnels like 150 feet underground or whatever. But it's pretty incredible. I think this crowd will probably want to know more about. I mean, I know it's still pretty far away, but you know, the closures of the trail, like the logistics of that kind of stuff, and what that might look like. Are closures going to be like for a long distance, or is it going to be in small segments? You know, like give us a sense of what a closure could look like, because I know you're going to be boring down, but obviously you're going to have to, you know, be on the surface as well. So that's my first question.
Sure. So yes, we are not far along enough in the design to actually tell you that yet. However, we do know that there will be spots where it could be a longer term closure, 18 months or so, 18 to 24 months, if the trail is around one of the drop shafts, say. Those are going to be larger sites, an acre, 2 acres, and it's going to be a longer term construction site versus, say, if we're doing a boring, or if it's simply just that we are monitoring the tunnel boring machine scooting under and we have to close some things down. So I think to answer the question right now, Eric, I think it'll be a variation. Mm-hmm. We will know as we get further along in the design process exactly where those larger closures will be. So that will be communicated far, far in advance. Got it.
Thanks. Yeah. And just know we're always around to like answer questions about when you're coming up with detours, you know, recommended routes for the detours and stuff like that. You know, understanding that this is going to be such a huge project for y'all. I saw a couple questions in the chat as well.
Okay.
I think Roy, either speak, I'll just read the ones in the chat, or just feel free to unmute yourself too, everybody. But I guess you kind of answered, does the expansion plans include the trail somewhere along the river? So I guess you kind of talked about that. I'm not sure.
I did not actually hear it. Does the expansion plan include a trail along the river? Or somewhere along the river?
It's very, very possible, Roy, because a lot of our infrastructure is there. We are not at that design point yet. We're not even at 30% design, but I can tell you that because our infrastructure is along the river, the trails are along the river, there will be some closures during the construction.
Well, the question is right now you cannot go through the plant area where the plant is. And the question is whether there are plans to put a trail in the plant area?
I'm sorry, Roy, I misunderstood your question. No, there is not plans to expand that through the plant.
What can we do to get it to happen?
Talk to the Homeland Security because that's a secure site. Unfortunately, as you saw, when we created that land out into the river, all of that's going to be used. So no, there's no plans for a bike trail to run through the plant.
No space along between the plant and the railroad tracks?
No.
Well,
that space has not changed, Roy.
That illustration of the circular things out in the river just cried out for a trail along the top of the retaining wall, which could then be fenced from the rest of the plant.
Unfortunately, that's not something we're going to be able to do.
Okay. I'm going to keep going on the questions. One thing I noticed too was that image you showed of the rehab site. That was really interesting because there are a lot of locations along the trails that I think, hope that could be a really great improvement for people just to make the trail a little more welcoming, especially along the Ohio. It feels very, very like industrial back there. So I think that, if those things are able to be worked out, that would be a really great improvement for folks.
And I know we are actually working with River Life on some of their plans around the West End Bridge and working in conjunction with them. We're also going to do, now that I think about it, Alexis, you're going to have to help me with the name of that project in Aspinwall.
The stream removal project?
No, where we're going to do the work before they start working
yes.
on the trails.
The consolidation sewers that are going to be in advance.
So, for example, we're doing some work there now, even though the Allegheny River Tunnel's years away still, because that is actually working. They're going to be doing some construction, having the same conversation with a lot of people. The guys, the folks that are doing the promenade down on the West End, having those same conversations with them. So.
That's good to hear that that's happening. Thanks for that. A couple other questions. Is this presentation available on the ALCOSAN website? And can we, well, we're recording it obviously, but is there a way to share it? Is it on the website?
No, it's not. This is just something that I use.
Okay, got it. And then another question, do you construct the deep tunnels? Oh, I think you kind of went over that. It was just more, you kind of went over the disturbance.
He answered that right after I posted it.
Sounds good. And then I see Nancy, you have your hand up. You want to go ahead and unmute yourself? You're muted still. You're muted. No, still muted.
Okay, is this any better?
Yep, now we got you.
Okay, I was trying to do two things at once, apparently. This is not necessarily a bicycling or trail question, but the water that goes into the deep tunnels, what happens to it ultimately? Where does it go?
It'll go to the plant, Nancy. That's part of the construction of the new pump station that we'll build, but that's also the reasoning behind the whole expansion of the plant, the capacity of the plant. Because when we move all of that flow to the plant, we have to be able to treat it before we obviously put it back in the river.
Okay, so it's not a storage facility, it's actually a moving water facility.
Absolutely. Now, it may store for a period of time, depending on what the other flows are, but eventually that water will be taken to the plant and treated.
Thank you.
And then we'll go to the final question. Mary, I'm guessing you're probably going to ask your MPT question. I see your hand up, so just go for it.
Yeah, there were, you mentioned detours during closures, but I want to get it front and center that these are not just recreational trails, they're commuting trails, and people very much count on them for getting to places where they actually need to go and don't really have choices like I could go someplace else today. And so I just wanted to confirm that just as road projects that close trails have maintenance and production of traffic plans that include viable, useful detours during the construction period, that will that will apply here as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Joey and Alexis. Really appreciate your time and letting us know what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
I just made that up on the spot. But anyway, thanks a lot for that info and opening up these lines of communication. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank everybody for having us again, and I hope everybody has a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Thank you.
With that, I saw a Paige on here somewhere. You here, Paige? Yeah, there you
Yeah,
are.
I'm here. Hey.
Pretty
How's it
crazy
going?
stuff, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was into that. I learned something.
Yeah. So did I. Cool. Well, hey, so this is Paige from DOMI.
You have Jeff too.
Oh, and
Jeff
Jeff.
Leonard's with us today. Jeff, throw a DOMI at the end of your name.
And Jeff, yeah. Well, thanks for showing up and spending this beautiful evening with us. Really appreciate your guys' time and what you're going to share with us. With that, I'm not going to waste any more time and just the floor is yours. Oh wait, should I make Jeff a co-host? Do I need to make you a co-host, Jeff?
Sure, yeah. I mean, Jeff might be able to. I don't know. Can everyone can use the chat, I guess. So
Everyone can use the chat. It's just more for sharing. I'm just going to make him a co-host.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
So we should be okay.
Got it. All right. Well,
I'm out of practice on the Zoom days.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting the hang of it. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep. Looking good.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Paige, for those of you who I haven't met, but I think I've met a lot of you. Jeff's new to the city. He's a planner that is also working on our Complete Streets project. Well, he's not new to the city, I should clarify. Jeff, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Jeff. I moved to Pittsburgh a couple of years ago from Salt Lake City. I started working for the city as an inspector in DOMI, and then I'm currently working as a transportation planner that assists in various outreach efforts.
Thanks, Jeff. So Jeff has been helping us kind of get it all together, and we've been making a lot of improvements on internal communication and stuff like that. So I'm really excited that he's on board to help us with Complete Streets projects this year. Most of the ones I'm here to talk about today are projects that were born of the Move Forward campaign. So I think a lot of you will be very familiar with this year's construction plans. So I'm just going to go through like the projects that we know are going to be instructed this year. And Jeff is going to help me with, at least like we can bring any questions that we can't answer today up, but I'm really just here to talk about projects that are going in this year and I think you're familiar with. They're all on, I'm not even using a PowerPoint, I'm just using our new Complete Streets page. All the projects are listed here that we're going to be talking about. So I'm just going to go through these. Most of these materials are from previous things. So it should all look pretty familiar. Maybe I'll go through each project, and then if you have any questions, feel free we can talk about them as we go. The first one is going in actually this week. I just found out it's I knew that today that they were starting. I knew that they were starting it, but today was the first day that they were able to get out and start this project. And this is a trail connection in the south side along the road that leads to the boat launch and dead ends. So we worked really closely with Friends of the Riverfront on this one. And it's our first ever advisory bike lanes in the city of Pittsburgh. An advisory bike lane, this is an example of one because we don't have any yet in the city of Pittsburgh to show. But how they work is that you have 2 advisory bike lanes on either side, but in doing so, it creates a yield condition for the center lane. It's no longer wide enough for 2 cars to pass each other without one of them moving into the advisory bike lane. So it's kind of almost like a super shero sort of interim condition or like a condition that we can do when there's not enough space for bike lanes, but the volumes are really low, and it's, you know, we know that this connection along the trail has more cyclists than cars that use it. So I think it's a really apt place to try something new, where we have a different shared condition that we're used to. Unlike this example here, we don't have any parking lane on this road, which I think makes it a lot safer for a condition like this. Because we would never want to, I don't love in this condition, you know, you might have people, it's like a door zone share, which is not necessarily safer, but without the parking lane, I think it'll add a lot of safety and comfort to this facility, and hopefully help to encourage cyclists to use the road instead of using the crowded sidewalk next to the road that we would really like to keep available for pedestrians. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to run through, show the plan set a little bit, but it's all, again, this is just on the web page, so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sure thing.
Which I really like this. I've used them in the Netherlands and they work fine, but for explaining them to Pittsburgh, what I have found helpful in explaining them is we have zillions of neighborhood streets where there's cars parked on both sides and there's not really room for two cars to pass each other in the middle. And so what the cars do on those streets is that they see each other coming and they wait for a driveway or an empty parking space to pull aside and let people pass. And if I explain it to people that way, it kind of normalizes it, not as, oh, the bicyclists are taking over, but as this is a kind of a traffic pattern I have seen before, except that it's not parked cars, it's bicycles that's making me share the road. So I offer that to people who need to help explain this, because I think it gets over the hump from the bicyclists are driving us out to this is something you've seen before.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Marion. I've talked about that. I've used that analogy too, because it is a yield street. It's a yield condition. And there's so many cities where people aren't comfortable with yield conditions because they don't have them. But Pittsburgh is a great place for a facility like this, I think, because we have these hyper constrained conditions. So that's a great way of explaining it. I pulled up this too. These are some links that are on here. There's this, uh-oh, Jeff, this link is broken. But we'll get that fixed.
Yeah.
But there's this great document on here too from ALTA that is just lessons learned. This came out in 2017. So already there were a lot of examples of this all in North America in a lot of cities. Some more like Pittsburgh than others, but it's a pretty interesting document. It shows that it's really like an emerging new type of facility and that there's a lot of ways to do it. So I hope that you'll all offer your feedback on this one, and maybe I like to think that these could be a great facility we could use on maybe streets with slightly higher volumes and a little bit. This is a great starter one, but I would love to think of other ways that we could use these once people start to feel a little more comfortable with them.
I had a question about.
Absolutely.
So is there a budget for repainting the bike lane? Because I notice on some bike lanes, the white paint gets so worn away that it's almost invisible. And if there's no like regular repainting, then for all intents and purposes, the bike lane no longer exists.
Sure. Good question. We are working on trying to improve some of those, some of our maintenance. Some of the issues that come from it is we've used like everything comes with repaving usually, and then any interim is hard for us to do in-house because we rely on contractors to do most of the fancier work that you'll see on bike lanes. The good news is we're working on ways to get those to be able to be done in-house better. It's going to be a slow process, and I don't know if I have an exact date on how fast we can scale this up, because we have not gotten any more funding for this sort of thing in any recently. So we're working on it, but there are some ways that we're hoping to start doing more regular maintenance of more interesting, things like the bike symbols and things that we don't typically do in-house. So we're trying to find ways to empower our own internal teams to do that so that it can be done more regularly.
Cool. This is a good time. I have a couple questions, Paige. First one hopefully is easy. Is there going to be any potential change to the speed limit through there? You know, we worked on getting that 15 mile per hour in parks, and does this qualify? And are you going to be, is this a good, this seems like it could be a good place to try to lower the speed limit to 15 through here. And is that in the works for this?
Yeah, you know, when we designed this last year, that was before these brand new speed limits came out. So let me look into that, because I think I haven't looked at that policy much. I think we have advised, I can't remember what the signage looked like, and I apologize. I'm at home and didn't bring my work computer, so I'm just using the website. So I don't have access to the actual design plans. But I'll look into that because I can't remember. And if not, we'll certainly look into that, because I think there's right now warning speed limits that might be 15.
Be nice to get those black on white ones though.
Right.
Bigger.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I don't think those are there now because of when we put together these designs, but that's
totally.
a good idea.
And then my second question is, like, I think this is a really great location to try out this advisory bike lanes. But, you know, we all want to see it succeed. So curious, like, what the education plan is around it, you know, not just for riders, but for drivers too. And can we like collaborate on that? Like, there's going to be media, like we should probably get ahead of that. And it's, you said it might be going in now. So
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And I did give our staff like a heads up. I don't know, our communications person was on vacation the last 2 weeks. She got back today. I told her not to come to this meeting because she needs to go do something, catch up on some other stuff. But yeah, we're working on they're only partially done with installation, but yeah, I made sure Friends of the Riverfront was aware. Hopefully they can help us out. We'd love to work with you. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago and we haven't really followed up, but obviously we really hope that you guys are kind of the go-to for educational stuff. So that's good. And yeah, we're going to be working with I think there's going to be like a social media blitz of some sort. The one thing I don't have these on the website. I'll make sure to get them on here. The signs that we are using, we went back and forth a lot on signs, and it's very tough none of them make much sense at all, to be honest. So I know you're going to be critical of this one because it's just the best we could find, but where is it? There's an example. I'll try to find it, but it's, and Jeff, maybe we can get get a picture of the sign that we're using on the website. I know we have it, so we can talk to Charlie about that, but it's confusing. So it is going to be a challenge, I think, to here it is.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a challenge to make it clear. I think there are ways to explain it, like Mary was saying, and it's just going to take time. But I anticipate confusion.
Yeah, those arrows make it look like the car is supposed to drive into the bicycle.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
But they're supposed to yield before they drive into the bicycle. Yeah. Yep. I will say we looked at a lot of other examples, and if you got a better option, I'd love to see it. Draw it up, send it over.
Yeah, I mean, talking to a lot of community members, like non-cyclists, they're always like, am I allowed to drive in the bike lane? Am I not allowed to drive in the bike lane? And it's like, no. But actually this one you're allowed because it's dashed. So if you see a dash, you know, that means you can drive in it, basically.
So one, I love this sign out of all the other ones I've seen. So like different opinion than Paul there. Yeah, but my concern is exactly what Eric brought up, which is that this will normalize driving the bike lane. And there are other places where dash means you can cross through the bike lane, specifically on Penn Ave. Dashed there means this is a loading dock. Cars may go through there, but may not drive there. So I'm always happy to experiment. I'm curious what your process will be to like get feedback to see if this is working, if this is causing confusion at this on this road, but also like, does it cause confusion in general, teaching drivers that like, oh, sometimes it's okay to drive in the bike lane if you really feel like it.
That is a good point. Yeah, I think we should definitely, I would say the one lesson I've learned in the 5 years I've worked at DOMI is just that it will take probably at least a year before we can even really gauge it. So I plead some patience, but please offer your feedback, and I'm sure we will find out however it's going. Yeah, that's a good point. I think we should all I don't know exactly how to measure these kinds of successes. You know, it is a very subjective thing, but I don't think this location will have a lot of parking in the bike lane because it's not an area people are parking in anyways. There will be no parking signs. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, is the best way to submit feedback just 311ing anytime
Yeah.
something dangerous happens? Just 311 it to you?
Yep, I think 311ing is the best way to get it to the most people the fastest. Always. Yep.
I see a question in the chat. I'm just going to ask it from Morgan. Will there be any traffic calming measures coupled with this?
In this case, we took data and it did not warrant, or any specific traffic calming measures were really appropriate. Not to say that couldn't change, and I think in other contexts that could be really great. Something I'm also intrigued by is a couple of these. Well, none of the examples had them, but in one of the examples they put in this ALTA guide, it has channelizing islands, which I think is pretty cool. Which is just like would say if you're going to drive in the bike lane, you won't be able to drive at that one portion where there's a channelizing island. And
Yeah,
I think that's
the Dutch bike lanes do that. Just every now and again, there's a concrete thing between the bike lane and the road that isn't wide enough for a car to get past. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. So something like that, I think, could be more appropriate. Other places we might consider these, and I mean, maybe even here if we see that to be a really big problem.
Cool. I see just a couple other questions. The Merchant Street one that didn't happen came up.
Oh yeah.
Just wondering if you guys would if this works out, would you potentially reconsider Merchant Street and the railroad underpass there?
I can't speak to that, but
okay.
Maybe.
Okay. And then I see coloring the asphalt differently might highlight the cars or guests in these lanes. Red looks nice. So maybe some coloration could also help maybe in some spots. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting idea.
It's just, and I think, oh wait, the plan for Neville Street called for this. Is that still in the plan? I don't remember that for Neville, but that was just a question in the chat.
I don't know about the Neville Street plan. Is that DOMI?
I think so. This is part of getting Junction Hollow Trail connected up Boundary and Neville to Fifth Avenue. And when they were talking about the construction of the power station, transfer station, the electrical thing that they're building, there were some drawings that showed advisory bike lanes on Neville from Jonquière up to the railroad tracks. And that's a place where sometimes there's not much traffic.
From Jonquière to the railroad tracks.
Oh, okay, it was Boundary, because Boundary becomes Neville around the railroad tracks. It would be Boundary Street.
Okay.
Right, and that's a place where the traffic has a particular character. Much of the traffic is going to the pit parking lot at Jonquière and Boundary, and so much of the day there's not much traffic. But when there is traffic, it's all coming in or all coming out because it's commuter parking.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. There's already speed humps on that section. I believe
I
on Boundary.
so.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something worth considering. I always thought down there, especially right now in the springtime, it's so overgrown that the sight lines could create, I don't want anyone moving too fast and coming at each other, but maybe with the traffic calming.
This was connected with the substation project, and there was going to be other improvements to the road, I think.
Got it. Okay, I forgot about that project.
Also connected with actually getting the trail up between the CMU parking facility and the railroad track, just below where the road crosses the tracks.
Yeah, it's
So
never
if-
come across my desk,
If
but
that
I'd be
if that
curious.
has drifted out of focus, let's put it back in and see if it works.
Okay. Well,
I actually like the marina as a better starting point because I think there's less traffic overall.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I agree. I think it could be interesting too, especially we'd have to kind of figure out how constrained these could get next to parking lanes. But I kind of feel like there's a lot of opportunities, especially in park areas or places that have, you know, really high volumes of bikes and low volumes of cars, and speeds should be low.
Yeah.
If they can work next to a parking lane, I think these could be really popular and help us create a lot of infrastructure, but it depends on how constrained, where that trade-off sits. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So this will be a good first test, but we'll see about the future.
Cool. And so they are installing it right now, you said. So
They started to, yeah, yep.
All righty.
Construction starting, signage is up.
Okay.
Yep, it's just started today.
Sounds
Welcome back, communications person. Okay, the next one is already in. You might have seen it, the Melwood connector. It's not completely finished. This one is the contraflow bike lane on Melwood from Bayer to Center. And then there is I think this is actually not a totally accurate drawing. I think there's one speed hump here and then there's one speed hump back here. So I apologize, we can update that. But there's a few speed humps along the corridor now, as well as the contraflow bike lane, which is our most constrained contraflow bike lane ever with parking on both sides. So that's new and exciting. Does anyone have any questions about it?
I haven't used it yet, but I'm seeing pretty good reviews on Twitter and online about them so far. So
That's great.
For what that's worth.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were like, "This is what we do every day anyway." So now it feels good.
That's what it seems like for
Yeah.
sure. The first time I was out there, I saw 3 people using the contraflow lane, and I was like, they can't have just started doing that today.
Yeah.
So again, let us know what you think. 311's a great way to do it. We do also, I should have said this earlier, we have a new email, completestreets@pittsburghva.gov, that goes to a bunch of us. So that's the best way if you have something more detailed. But 311 is actually like the most people will see that, and it will, that can sometimes be the best way for like direct concerns, but there's also this one.
Yeah, I gotta say we're pretty excited about, you know, like this succeeding as well, because I think it's a really elegant solution for making those little like small connections that we need to make all over. You know, it's between bike lanes, just that we can't do because one-way streets and all that stuff. So, you know, really hoping that, fingers crossed, this works out pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like I think about it compared to, we got some of those little contraflow connections on Coral Street. And I know some people have been in my ear about ones in different parts of the north side. In Manchester, we did those ones on Juniata. Like basically they're all places where people are doing this already. But if we can make it legal and a little bit safer, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So easy compared to a lot of stuff.
I can comment on the neighborways in general.
Sure.
A lot of times, especially with the Corral and Comrie, there's been construction lately and there's no detours, and it sucks a lot when you like go a block and then there's construction and you have to turn around and take Penn and you don't really know when it ends. If a part of what a neighborway is includes like stricter detours so that both cars and bikes know when a neighborway is blocked, I think that would just make it so much safer, right? I love the neighborways. I would just love a little stricter detour signage when it's needed.
Yeah, I totally on board for that. We can do so much better when it comes to bike detours generally. Like we saw some of the things that bike lanes are still having those problems. I've also think it'd be great to, and I could use, this is something I could actually use all of your help on, because that's something I can help advocate for, but that's not really like my wheelhouse. So again, that's 311 is perfect, because that goes directly to, you know, the permit people and not just the bike people. So 311 it as much as possible, especially as soon as it happens. But then also just advocating via 311. I think it would be great to get the neighborways prioritized as snow plowing routes and sweeping routes. I haven't been able to make that happen for my, you know, that's not something I can like personally make happen, but I think it's a policy level of DOMI and we can totally push for that. So that's a really great comment.
Okay, so every time I see a neighborway blocked without a detour, I can 311 that. And
absolutely, and it will go to the permitting people and the detour people rather than, you know, just the people like me and Jeff who will just go and try to email them on your behalf, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a really good way.
Is that also true for bike lanes?
For detours,
bicycle lanes, because we encountered a construction project with orange cones and construction materials blocking the bike lane and half of the traffic lane on Baird, just east of North Craig on Sunday. And there was no flagman and no posted anything. It looked like they just pulled up the truck and dumped stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely 311 that.
Is that
a lot of times?
Is that a 911 since it's blocking it actively right now, or just a 311?
I mean, if you want if you want to wait for the police to arrive and talk to them about it.
Oh, I have to wait. No, I don't.
Yeah, there's not really a way to like report it. I think 311 is probably best. But if you want to speak to police, I do know that's the way to do it, and that's. I'm not sure how to make that call. But yeah, 311 is great because a lot of times, you know, we have a couple people in the department who are really good about when there's big MPT plans that come through, they do keep in mind bike rerouting. We have gotten a lot better at it, but it's not necessarily a universal policy, and there's a lot of permitting and there's a lot of unpermitted work. So if you report it to 311, they can find out that it's unpermitted and take the next steps then. So that's always going to be the best way to get a hold of the city.
I just have a comment about doing a 911 call. I have typically not waited, and I've always said, I've reported it, and then I've said something like, well, I'm on my way to work and I can't wait around for the police. But and I don't know whether this is a good thing to do or not, whether the police actually ever come if you're not willing to wait there. And I don't know if anybody has had experience with this.
I have told them that it's creating a hazardous situation and somebody other than me is going to get killed. So if it's a crash and someone has run into me, yeah, I understand why I need to sit around. But if it's something that is blocking a public facility, it's going to affect other people, and it will still be there when the police come.
Yeah. Do you know if they come? If you tell 911 that you're not waiting, whether the police ever come?
Don't know.
Yeah. So I've done a little bit of this protesting when it got really bad. So I tried really hard not to call 911 for equity issues. And I know a lot of people in this room feel the same. But there's been a time when I needed the police to come because it was happening on the regular, and I really needed, you know, it was happening every week at the same time. And so I called the police and said, I will wait here. It took an hour for them to come, but I called back, excuse me, a couple times. And what I did was the bike lane was blocked. And so I took the car lane. And so I was blocking traffic for that whole hour, just biking up and down the street. And eventually a police officer showed up. When he did, he said, there's too many cars in the bike lane. I can't ticket them all. So I'm not going to ticket any of them. So like I waited, like that did get escalated, luckily, and that problem was solved. Like what I needed was someone in the city to figure out who was holding a sports game and like reach out to them. And so it was solved, but the police didn't ticket, and they don't like to ticket.
Right.
So for that reason, I generally recommend, even if it's a car in the bike lane, just report it to 311 instead. I know that some people at DOMI, and Paige, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but some people have, in DOMI do want to be able to send 311 reports to the parking authority. But we need a city council ordinance to make that happen.
Right,
That's
so
one
I 311 the trucks parked in the Penn Avenue bike lane once, and I got a nice note from I think sergeant at Zone 5 that said call 911 for this.
Yes, they do tell you that every time. I'm not willing to call 911 for that. As some of you know, I have the dash cam app that hooks directly into 311. And so I report about 10, 15 different cars parked in the bike lane every week. So I'm constantly sending to 311. And yeah, occasionally the police respond saying, please report to 911. But I tell them, look, I'm not going to, right? One, I don't want to. And two, I'm not going to sit here for an hour for an officer to tell me they're not going to ticket a car. For that reason, I just, nothing happens either way. You might as well save yourself the pain and just report to 311. And hopefully eventually something will happen, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, what I
So
sorry,
does that
just-
mean that cars are not being ticketed at all for being in the bike lane, no matter
No,
what?
because the police don't want to ticket them. They don't think it's a good use of their time. And the parking authority is also not willing to ticket them right now. So currently there are no consequences for parking in the bike lane.
The one thing I will say too about 311 is that even when you close it, it's a data point that's always going to be there, and it can always be reopened and accessed by almost anybody at the city, depending on your.
Assuming that they ever close it, I have a whole potload of unclosed 311s.
Oh, Mary, calling us out. No, that's true. There's a lot depending. It's all case by case. It depends on the department and the people.
I have a lot of open ones, especially when it comes to reporting cars parked in the bike lanes. They're almost all always open. And so the last week, one of my pet peeve places is Hertz at the corner of that horrible intersection of Baum and Center and Negley.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I've seen the campaign in 311. I appreciate you guys' efforts. I changed them all to traffic enforcement because it's not a traffic engineering problem.
So I'm
getting them.
So I did make because I got really frustrated. There was yet another car parked there. The Hertz was actually closed, so I couldn't even go into Hertz and complain about it. And so I made a 911 call, and they said, well, wait for the officer. And I said, I have a meeting. So I went to my meeting in Oakland, and an hour and a half, I came back, and there was no sign of police activity. The car was still there and no ticket.
Yeah, it drives me bananas as well. So I appreciate all that you're all trying to do. We'll do what we can. What we are trying to do is put in as many no parking signs as possible, because that is something that I know we got this new bill about no parking in the bike lane, and then we also just try to use signage, because a lot of times that will be an excuse to not enforce something. So when it's appropriate, we try to sign places where it's illegal to park, even though the sign doesn't change. It was illegal before the sign was there, but it helps to make enforcement possible sometimes.
Just one last comment on this. Thanks for diverting a little bit, but we did recently escalate this issue to the now outgoing chief of police. He then delegated to a lieutenant, and basically one other thing we're noticing is a lot of the police don't know the law, and they don't know the rule. Like, they don't know that the law was changed. They don't know that there was, it's now officially illegal to park in a bike lane, whether there's signage or not. and there's the learning curve as well with just police in general, but then you have the discretion of the police on the beat. That is another hurdle to overcome. So anyway, I just want people to know that we are, have been actively working on this, but it's not there's no easy fix to it. So
I'm about to drop in the chat a nomination for another place to put up no parking signs, where delivery drivers for Chipotle use the bike lane as a parking lot.
Okay, sounds great.
I'll put it in chat.
Yeah, also throw in one in if you would, because I might forget.
Yep.
I won't forget to send 311. I'm not kidding. Okay, Perrysville. This project was brought up last year. There's a few meetings about it and move forward. It is in a PennDOT road primarily. So we're doing it in conjunction with a PennDOT resurfacing project. It does not include, bike lanes the whole way up because it's, or any vertical elements because it's PennDOT road. So I'm preparing you to be a little disappointed by this project, but I still think it's a huge improvement. It's mostly shared lane markings, a lot of shoulder striping, bump outs, no parking signs. And then some new bike lanes around corners primarily, along with slow curve packages and some other things that we could do. So it's a moderate improvement and some new bike lanes, but unfortunately they're unprotected. But it's still an improvement for sure. Here's the full location. It's kind of confusing, but all the way down here, North Charles Street, up until East Street. Any questions about this one? Okay. Another big one that's coming this year is going to be on Aiken Ave, and then this is actually Liberty Ave. It should be labeled. This is Aiken, this is Liberty. So it's going to connect Liberty to Ellsworth by a road diet that'll make bike lanes possible. This project is going to be on hold for the summer, and we are hoping to get it in the fall because right here, this block of Liberty is being used as a detour for that giant PWSA project. So we have to wait for that to end, but you may have noticed we got Aiken repaved. This will get repaved when we can repave it. And the plan set is being finalized now. There's some other details here. This is another one that we talked a lot about last year, so.
Very exciting project.
Wildly exciting, yeah. Also, Aiken at Ellsworth is a separate, there's 3 projects here. There's the Ellsworth Complete Streets project, which I'll talk about later, this project, and then there's a 3rd separate project for those of you who want to get in the weeds, that is the Aiken at Ellsworth Signals project. So if things seem to be coming in weird times, it's because there's 3 separate projects touching this intersection. They all have different construction schedules and design schedules.
Figures.
I have a quick question, Paige. Probably gonna hate me for asking, but has anything been worked out with like street sweeping and plowing for this project?
Right now, we are just moving them far enough out that they can technically fit something behind there. 7 feet is supposedly they can squeeze it in. So we don't have any new tools or nothing has really changed at that level to what I'm aware. I might not be aware, but I believe we're just going to do the best we got by moving the flex posts far enough and just hope and try to make it feasible. It is technically going to be feasible.
Okay, that's good to know. So get your 3-1-1 fingers warmed up.
Yep. 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 Any other questions?
Thanks.
All right. The last one's on the engage page, right? Active right now is the Squirrel Hill East-West connector, which we talked about a lot last year. This is a weird map, but this is Shenley Park over here, and it goes all the way from, this is actually not totally accurate. This intersection, this isn't gonna go in this year, but there's some speed humps here, a Conchville bike lane, a bunch of intersection improvements along each intersection, and then a climbing lane on Beacon to connect it to the Beechwood Boulevard bike lanes. So this will connect Frick Park to Shenley Park through Squirrel Hill, and this is another big project of Move Forward. I think those of you who are in the area are aware just how many meetings we had. I think it's a new record for me, at least, of how many meetings we've had for a project. And I think it's still a little bit contentious. We're hoping to get it in very soon. Yeah, but it sounds like some people had hoped that it was not going in, and are now finding out that we put out signs that said, I don't know if anyone saw them, but signs that said they were coming in, and some people were a little surprised that the project was still planned. But we just found that out this week because we put up the signs on Friday. So that's kind of how it goes.
What are their objections at the moment?
It's the climbing lane over here.
What? Oh, the climbing lane is the objection.
Yeah, so we shortened it. It used to be the original proposal had it all the way up to the corner here.
Yeah.
We shortened it as a response to a petition. There's actually another petition. It says they didn't want the climbing lane in until there was traffic calming down here. We did put some improvements. I didn't know about that other petition. Nick did not tell me to change the plans. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I just found out that there was that other petition that I'd not been aware of. I don't know if it changes anything, but I think there have been maybe some miscommunications about what had been agreed upon with this bike lane, because it's a climbing lane on one side of the road, so it removes a parking lane.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a question.
Yeah.
At the corner of Beacon and Beechwood, at that problem area near Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
is there any consideration for putting in changing the stop signs? Because right now, some traffic is not expected to stop and other traffic is expected to stop. And
Right.
it's a confusing area and seems to be a problem area.
It is a problem area. We did a bunch of analysis of it with this project. Unfortunately, there was a lot of queue issues where if you change the configuration is unfortunately the best available at this moment with this issue. But that is why we have a bigger project planned for this intersection, because it's a whole hot mess, as you're, I'm sure, aware of. So they're really hoping that some of this analysis can help us figure out everything that's going on here with it's a longer term plan.
Last night, Squirrel Hill and Briarcliff had a meeting about the Ferncliff project, which winds up in this intersection.
The Fern Hollow project, the bridge.
The DOMI extension to the bridge part of the project comes out to Dallas, and Nick designed a cycle track that cuts over at the little cutover where the solid green line goes tangent to the dash green line.
Mm-hmm.
And closing that to traffic is also going to change the traffic patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was discussion there that I think Marshall Hirschberg and Rich Feder are probably going to write up, and you will see it soon. But we had a lot of discussion about things that might be done there. So,
okay,
sort of,
cool.
I know you're aware there's a project down there, but there's more commentary coming.
Okay. Yeah, I think that project is still in design. I am not going to be able to talk about it tonight because there's the Fern Hollow project that is PennDOT, and then there's the DOMI extension that is still in the early stages of design. So we're not ready to talk about it, but feel free to send Complete Streets email.
We were holding the meeting, I think, in hopes of having the commentary to you while it was still in early stages of design, so that it might actually make a difference.
Cool. Yeah,
rather
I look forward to
rather
seeing
than
that.
waiting till it's all designed and then complaining.
Yeah. I do anticipate, it's such a messy intersection. It's one of those ones where like anything I think could almost be an improvement, which people always want it to fix everything. And I'm like, I just need it to be a little better than it was before. But I think that it's good that we have long-term plans to fix that whole intersection at Dallas and Beechwood too, because I've watched many different people attempt in just the past 5 years, try to make changes and fix that intersection from various angles. And it's a very, very tricky one. No one can really figure it out. So we're hoping that by going back to the drawing board with this complex intersection analysis that's going on right now, we can get a plan together, get some big funding, and make some big changes longer term. But I think whatever we do this year might not fix all those problems, because that's not going to be possible or easy to fix all of them. Yeah.
Well, and that climbing lane interacts with the rest of the intersection too.
It does. I would argue barely compared to almost anything else in terms of if it should exist or not. Because bikes are already on Beacon Street. They're just sharing the travel lane right now.
I have a quick question related to this project. What's the deal with Serpentine? Is it going to stay closed to cars, or is there plans to reopen
It's open.
it?
It's
Oh,
open.
It's open to cars now.
Yeah, and Nick did a really fantastic job for us. There is a 10-foot lane descending that is open to cars, but unless you're a careful driver, you're not going to want to drive down it, and it certainly does not encourage excess speeds. I love it because the people who wanted to have it open to cars have it open to cars, and for the rest of us, the cars don't like to use it, so there's no traffic. Don't break it. It's working
like it
fine as
too.
far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I thought it was closed. So
No,
People think it's closed. People think it's a downhill bike lane because it's so narrow. So
but
I'm not here to tell them otherwise.
it's officially open, and
Yep.
I think Nick did a great job with that. I think it was Nick.
Yeah, it was Nick. Well, it was Mateus, but that designed it. But yeah, Nick managed that project. There was actually a lot. That was another one. Like it started before Nick got here, and then it's gonna finish with after he left. So they always get so many hands. But yeah, he did. It's very, very tight on that downhill condition.
So I was on it about 4 days ago, and it was news to me that it was open. It didn't look open.
Right.
I mean, I didn't see a single car in it. It really didn't look open.
Yeah, we're trying to clarify with some signage because it actually seems to be, we've gone some 311s about pedestrians not knowing that it could have cars, and then it feels unsafe, but it's much safer than it was before.
Oh yeah. At the top it says no trucks.
Right. It says no trucks. And I think some people are confused by that, like not realizing that means cars are okay.
Yeah, there's another sign that I don't remember the wording, but it hints that that it's okay to drive on it.
Right, and it's a Shiro. It's not a typical bike, but that's a very small detail, and most people might not notice. Yeah, it is tight. Yeah, it's very tight. It's an interesting one. I don't feel like there's anything like that.
But it's
world.
completely consistent with the lowered park speed limit. I mean,
Right.
if people are complaining it's too tight, you can point out that the speed limit is 15, 20, whatever.
15.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric, let me know what you think when you see it.
All right.
Try driving down it. That's the real challenge.
We have driven a van down it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I took my Prius one time and it was not easy.
You have to pay attention.
So the only
Adam asks, where is the street again? This is Serpentine Drive at the edge of Shenley Park. It's the road that the retaining wall fell in on, where the Grand Prix goes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll drive it. Zoom in on it. We have a lot of weird stuff coming in these days. So thanks for bearing with us and explaining to all of your neighbors what's going on, because I know it can be tough. And thanks for having me today. The only other projects that I can speak to a little bit, but are not like, we haven't gotten the website together yet. This is Serpentine, I just pulled it up. But is the Fern Hollow project, and then what comes to be then from that, the PennDOT project connection, and then the other outstanding project will be the Ellsworth Complete Street, which is a saga for the ages, but may actually get wrapped. So we brought Tool Design back on board for that project, which is great because we might be getting a little bit. It's going to be a lot of traffic calming, and it's going to be an interesting project. So we're going to take that design that we brought out last year, the conceptual design that we had brought out to the public, roughly, and then some of that hadn't really made it beyond just like the conceptual plan. So I think some of it has got a little further design, but it will be robust traffic calming all the way from Neville to Shady on Ellsworth. So that will be a game changer as well, that we will reach out to and get the website up when we can.
Do you have any update on Stanton Avenue in Highland Park, Morningside?
Yeah, and the traffic calming project.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try to put in some bike lanes with it. I
That
have
would be
to.
so wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that's like public knowledge. We've had some conversations with them about if we're going to do the traffic calming this year. This is the time to get whatever we can get in with it. You know, I think it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a real test this year for the new mayor. I don't know if he knows what's coming when it comes to bike stuff. I mean, I'm sure Bike Pittsburgh has been, and Kim and Director Lucas and Bike Pittsburgh have been talking to him, but it does seem like there is some support for it because there has been a lot of community that's reached out, and we really appreciate that we have some of that to point to. So continue advocating, please, for connections like that. 311 is great. Complete Streets is great. Complete Streets email is great, because I think that's one that might be feasible with the traffic calming, because the traffic calming is really, really popular. So we are going to try to put together the website and have a meeting about it, and hope it goes better than some of the past meetings.
And when you say there will be bike lanes on Stanton Avenue, do you have a sense of where they're likely to be? Like
what I'll say, it'd be climbing lanes, and it would certainly not be every part that I don't think. There's some parts, thinking mostly about the Lawrenceville side, where I don't see that necessarily happening right now.
So we're looking at the Morningside.
And I think the Lawrenceville side just may not all the way down. There have been some plans that have been brought to the community early on when we originally proposed it that were amended. There was like the original design, and then there was an amended shortened climbing lanes. And I think that would be more likely, which I think is McCandless to McCandless on the Lawrenceville side, and then Chislett to wherever the hill stops on the Stanton or on the East Liberty side.
That's Stanton Court, I think.
That sounds right. By the Sunnyside pre-K, where that school.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's this is all being recorded, and I know this is like not totally public. So I'm just trying to we're still trying to phase that out for sure. But it's nice to hear that the advocacy people really are pushing for this, and could be going somewhere. So we're doing our best. Nick, I was like tempted to just put him in on accident and blame Nick. But I don't know if that's a good idea.
Why not?
I know. Yeah. Tough questions to get answered.
There is definitely a lot of support for that. And I know our people have been putting in requests, capital budget requests every year with the council person, with DOMI. So, I think there's going to be a lot of support for it. Hopefully.
Yeah, I've heard too that like the Stanton between Chislett and Negley, that seems to be like a shoe-in for next year, a big project. So that's exciting. It sounds like, I could be wrong, things could happen, but it sounds like that's one of the council person's priorities. So I'm looking forward to working on that project if I get the opportunity.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Paige. I don't know if you have any other things
that's all
to
for
present,
me.
But what are the follow-ups here? So we posted the link in the chat. So like, give us a sense, like, are there, commenting still on that, or is there like any other things that, the engage page. Sorry, I put the engage page.
Oh, great.
So that people
if you have any questions, like peruse it, send us. If you have any, if you catch any glaring typos, send us an email. No, but just feel free. There's a FAQ section if you have any good questions, especially if you think they're like clarifying. Please ask them, and we can answer them. I think the Complete Streets email and 311 is the best way always to reach us. So we will do our best to get the next projects up on here as soon as we can. In the meantime, I appreciate your help. Eric will chat with Emily Bourne maybe too. and Jeff about South 18th advisory bike lanes and how to spread the word that these are not scary. That these are great and fun and comfortable. Yeah, and we really appreciate your support because we know there's a lot of naysayers out there. So thanks for helping to clarify with all of us.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Oh, I do see one quick question about if there's any update on the Allegheny Center loop.
Oh, so that's not a project I'm super involved on. But I do think last I knew the plan had been go to two-way this summer. Most of the concrete work is done. I think it's all done, right?
I couldn't provide a little context.
Oh, thanks, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I was just gonna say the project manager is Patrick Bopp, and the most recent note is that they are still working on setting poles and that the construction is still going on.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate that if you see anything that's not correct in the right of way, that 311 is the proper place to go to, and that when you use complete streets, you're kind of talking to the people that want to see these projects move forward. So if there's any sort of issues, definitely take those complaints to 311.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What's the best way to file them under 311? Is it bicycles, bicycle infrastructure, bicycle lanes? There's a million different categories and they go different places.
Yeah, that's true. We're working on clearing that up. So I hope we have better answers for you later. Like for right now, an example is the bike pedestrian concerns type goes to traffic engineering. A lot of times it's not for us, and we have to spend a lot of time getting those elsewhere. So we're trying to clear those up to make them a little better. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Jeff, do you have any updates have you heard anything about that? I know there was a couple people down in your side of the world.
Yeah, we're working on kind of cleaning up the standard operating procedures and response times. But there's so many different variables for when you should, complain about an obstruction or, if you have a inconvenient transit experience or something, can't really say which avenue is the most effective. But just to reiterate that the complete streets, we're the people that are trying to move these projects forward. And if there's something that's happening that's getting in the way of your transit experience, that when you go through 311, the opportunity that it's going to land in someone's lap that can handle the situation and address it is much more likely than when you're going through complete streets, you're just talking to us. Mm-hmm. So these sorts of issues, whether it's public safety or public works, 311's the way that can be sent towards them. So
what I would say then to that end is bike pedestrian concerns. I now, just because I told you, and I know it's not clear, we'll work on that, is traffic engineering. If you have an issue with like maintenance, like if it's snow plowing, go to the snow plow one, not the bike-ped concerns, because then it will take that much longer for us to have the time to reroute it. So similarly, if it's an enforcement issue, call it traffic enforcement. Don't call it a bike and pedestrian concern, because the cops will never see the bike pedestrian concerns unless I get to it to send it there. So just trying to be as specific as you can with what actually is the issue is helpful to get it to the right place faster.
Thanks. That's some good tips.
Yeah.
One final question in the chat. Is there like a rough timeline for Ellsworth that you mentioned there's still more to be done, but just rugged.
I think the goal was to get it in before school.
Oh, okay.
And probably right around then.
Okay, thanks.
Is the goal. Yeah.
Sounds good. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time and your knowledge and updates. I think everyone really appreciated that, this deep dive. So
yeah, thanks a lot, Paige. This was very helpful.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna head out, maybe go on a bike ride. See you
Yeah,
guys.
go take advantage of it.
Yeah,
We'll
I'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. All right, well, I'll try to get through the next bit. That was, hopefully everyone found that useful. I did, so. We want to go through the rest of the agenda really. I'll try to be quick so we can, still have an evening. Just want to mention capital budget stuff. I haven't seen a whole, I've seen some orgs send them in, but it'd be really great if more did. This is the very end of our chances for this year for Mayor Gainey's first budget. They have to be in basically this month, like as soon as we can. There is an engage page for the capital budget, which I definitely encourage people to use and share amongst your bike-ped org. But the requests really need to be in like ASAP if we're going to have any chance of getting some of that stuff, seeing our council people push for any of those things. So just want to put that in there. I'm here to help if anybody has any questions or doesn't know what to do. We have links. I've sent them out, but please reach out if you need any help.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Is it useful to take everything we put in our capital budget request and have every member of our group also submit it on the engage page? Just to show.
Can't hurt.
Okay.
Definitely can't hurt because it's going to go to different people. So the capital budget requests tend to go to DOMI and especially your council person. The engage page will go to the mayor's office. So it will help, I think it will help reinforce. So some council people have been really receptive to this and have submitted projects into the capital budget, but it doesn't mean they're going to get picked. Council people, the mayor essentially creates the budget. Council people can try to influence it, ask for things, but doesn't mean that they're going to get it. So I think anything that will reinforce a council person's ask will only help when the mayor's office puts it all together.
Great, thanks.
Good question. Any other questions on the capital budget? Could you put the engage page link here? Yeah, will do. I just want to put a plug in for Open Streets. June 26th is the Lawrenceville Strip District downtown one. And then Saturday, July 30th is the East End Loop, the one that goes through Larimer, East Liberty, Shady Side, Port and Point Breeze. We still need volunteers for both of those events, but obviously for the June 26th one, the most. So if you feel like volunteering or know some people who do, we'd really appreciate it. We really are trying this year to, instead of having people volunteer for the whole event, to have shifts so people can enjoy the event and also like volunteer at the same time. There's also just some things to do like that don't even require much time. For instance, we still need people sometimes just to, when we put up all the no parking signs, we need someone just to go and tear them all down. So there's all different kinds of things to plug in that can be done while you're actually enjoying the event. So I just want to put a plug in for that. You can see, you can sign up on the website, the Open Streets PGH website. Quick update on bike racks. That seems to be, that's going really well. We have installed close to about 200 bike racks over through this program, which is really exciting. We have Greenfield coming up, still working on some Homewood. The other thing, just to remind people, is if you see any broken racks, this is probably the ideal time to try to get them done. So if you see any broken or damaged or missing racks, please just 311 them, or you can even email me, but 311 is actually the best. I actually received those 311s to help get them onto the list. So really want to try to fix all of those broken racks out there. I don't know when we'll have another opportunity to do that. So let's try to take advantage of this moment. What's next? Oh, and then I just wanted to give a brief update on, everyone's been following along with our Strip District campaign. we are still pushing for it. The we just launched a new video to help build support from the businesses that's available on our blog. And we are actually still working with Tool Design. The city asked Bike Pittsburgh to seek money to help them with some design work, which we did. We found money to do that. We're paying Tool Design to create the best, like a really deep dive into the options of what can and can't happen through the strip district. They are hopefully finishing that up within this month. And then we're gonna see how, we're trying to figure out what's next after that. So hopefully, I don't know if anyone from DOMI is still on here, but hopefully they will then take that plan and then we can then start running with it and going and building the support to make something happen. So I know it's a long process, but this is where we're at with it. So look for that hopefully within the next couple months. I just wanted to give that brief update. With that, we can just go, let's spend the last bit of time on committee updates. I'd really like this to be short so we can all get out of here, but before 8. So I'm just going to pass it over to y'all. If you have any things that you want to share that's going on, that concerns, anything you're working on, we'd really love to hear from folks at this time. I don't know if you want me to call on people or just want to go and just shout it out. Does anyone have anything that they want to share that's happening?
Well, what I said earlier, Squirrel Hill and Briarcliff met last night to talk about bicycle infrastructure on the Fern Hollow Bridge and the extensions along Forbes to cover Braddock through Dallas. We're getting a whole lot of no, we can't do that for all the questions that we posed to the city, but we're trying to consolidate a set of proposals and continue advocating for them.
Thanks. Go ahead and just popcorn if anyone else wants to chime in. I think I put the wrong budget link in the chat. I'm actually going to correct that one. Yeah, it's 2023 budget. Sorry, I put the wrong link in earlier. I was like trying to talk and get the link at the same time. Nothing new from the West. Okay. What, the trail update is on hold? Oh, well, that's the trolley trail, I assume. Mark? Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, we're all excited about that, but hopefully that'll start moving again. I believe there is an engage page for the trolley trail as well. People wanted to research that a little bit more. It's kind of a cool project. Any other updates that people want to share from around the community? I'm hearing silence, so. I did see a question earlier from Aaron about the Penn Circle. There is actually a bit of an update on that. So there's the URA, not DOMI, has been handling that project. They're converting the rest of Penn Circle into a two-way street. They came up with designs that include protected bike lanes, both directions, and then those bike lanes will go all the way to Whole Foods. Which will then be the old Whole Foods. But another exciting part of that project is connecting the connection of Friendship Avenue and kind of making that, that contraflow section that everybody rides backwards official. So that's still in the works. I don't know if the plans are online. I'm happy to share the latest ones that I've seen. But the big update is that last month's URA meeting, the URA board gave the thumbs up to continue the project and to fund it. So I don't know what that means as far as what happens next, but that was a major step that they agreed to actually fund the project. So we'll see where that goes next. I'm guessing there'll be some public outreach and stuff like that coming up. But again, that is URA project, so DOMI doesn't really know too much about the background of what's going on. Any other updates that people want to share at this point? If not, oh,
Eric,
yeah. Go ahead,
I
Jerry.
just want to mention there's been a ton of DOMI activity on the north side, and it should really be recognized how much paint has gone down, how much thermoplastic has gone down, how many raised features they put in the intersections around Allegheny Circle. It's really phenomenal compared to what happened in the 10 previous years.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too, even though the drivers say it's a mess and that'll never work, you never saw such intersection calming as they installed on that loop.
Yeah.
And of course we aren't seeing the whole thing until it goes to two-way, and then it'll really be calm, because there's no way you can go around a corner at more than 5 miles an hour. A lot of people have tried, and they've even broken chunks of concrete off of the little lanes for the bicycles, but they're not trying it a second time. They try it once and that's it, and it works.
Yeah, good to hear.
Great shades of serpentine.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, Jerry. That's nice to hear. It helped to have a North Sider bike advocate traffic engineer, formerly bike walk ride North Side.
It made a difference.
Yeah. Cool. Unless anyone else has anything they want to pipe up on, I'm going to say let's close out this meeting and enjoy the rest of this evening. It's really nice seeing everybody. As we all know, there's the Slack channel we communicate on. In between, there's the Facebook page, and we're hoping to, like I said, we're hoping to put out the call out to hire for Anna's old position shortly. There's some things that everyone needs to work out to make that happen, but we're all anxiously awaiting that. But yeah, so really great to see you all. Hope to see you out on the streets. Hope to see you at Open Streets this month. We're really excited about the route again and the full summer of events. So cool. With that, I guess I'll just end the meeting. Oh, how do I get on the Slack? Armin, can I get you to forward Morgan the Slack channel? Do you mind? I think you're muted. You're muted, Armin. Oh, there you go.
Oh, I'm muted there. You can email me there with your email address, or you can post your email in the chat and I'll invite you to Slack.
Awesome. Thanks, Armin. Appreciate that help. Yeah, with that, I'm going to close this meeting. Nice to see you all.
I'll make one final comment. Thank you for valet parking at Three Rivers Art Festival.
Yeah, that was a struggle to make that happen, but we made it happen. So, well, cool. Nice to see everybody. See you when I see you.
Good night, Eric.
Good night. Oh.